Hey everybody, welcome back. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Today we're doing something a little different. Today I'm just going to kind of talk about my musical journey, why I started playing guitar, how I went from beginner to where I'm at now, some of my influences, just sharing my musical story with you guys. I actually didn't get my first guitar as a kid. I got one when I was 18, so I'll get to that, but I want to kind of go back and explain my love for music and some of my influences leading up to that. So as a kid in the 80s, my mother listened to a lot of 70s and 80s pop and rock, like Elton John, Billy Joel, Phil Collins, Michael Jackson. I remember the first music video I seen was Billie Jean, and it had like the light up tiles on the sidewalk and the tiger, and it was just really cool. And as a little kid, it was like, wow, musically and visually, it was just really creative. That bass line. That really it connected with me as a little kid. And then I'd go to my grandmother's on the weekends, and she had the older type of music playing, like Engelbert Humperdinck. I got notes over here if you see me looking this way because there's so much stuff. Sinatra, Dean Martin, Herb Alpert, Tijuana Brass, Glenn Miller Band, like a lot of that big band music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And she always had records playing when I was at her house. Just loved music. So between my mother and my grandmother always having music playing, I was surrounded by music growing up. So it connected with me. And then the 90s showed up, and I started to look for music and listen to different things, not just what my mother or grandmother or what was playing in the car. I actually started to listen to different stations, had my own radio, and was kind of choosing what I wanted to listen to and consuming different things. And and that's right around the area of the early 90s when college rock was really popular, and it was changing from the hair metal to more of the indie alternative grunge stuff, and REM, Losing My Religion was out. Sophie B. Hawkins, Damn I Wish Was Your Lover. The video was really cool as a young teenager, but as musically it was different. I hadn't really heard anything like that before. And then Toad the Wet Sprocket, like Capo here, Walk on the Ocean had come out, and that was really cool. That was that. Constant, every other beat, like a different chord and building up and down. It was just really cool. It connected me, and that was one of my favorites from the early 90s. I love when that would come on the radio. I'd try and record it on a tape. We didn't have CDs and stuff, and I could afford it. I just record it on a tape. And then as I was consuming, I was just listening to everything at this point, trying to just find what I liked. And I got into hip hop and R&B in the early 90s stuff, like Naughty by Nature, Paperboy, Onyx, Reliant K, Dre, Snoop, House of Pain, Digital Underground. All that stuff was just, I was living in North Syracuse at the time, and had the colorful, purple jeans and orange baggy shorts, and that belt that looped around, the braided one. Was just really into that stuff. It was all over the radio, and I really liked it. But then one day, it must have been early 90s, I'm not even sure if I put up my notes, somewhere around 93 maybe. Yeah, it had to be around 93. I hadn't moved to North Carolina yet. We moved back to Horseheads, New York, which is about an hour and a half south of Syracuse. And I was listening to the radio. We're still in North Syracuse, and scrolling through, and I heard this riff come on the radio. And it was Green River by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I didn't know what it was at first. I'm listening to it, and I was like, whoa, this is different. I had never heard anything like that. And at the end, it was a two for Tuesday, I think. And they played Green River, and I think they might have played Proud Mary. They played two of them, and I was hooked. It was on the oldie station. And I started bugging my dad. I wanted a Creedence tape, and he bought me a couple tapes. I got one for my birthday and stuff with Bootleg on it and Bad Moon Rising, and I just became obsessed with Creedence. And from there, my love for that 60s rock, the folk rock, roots rock just grew. I started listening to Zager and Evans. They had that 25-25 song. The Grassroots, they had Midnight Confessions, and Sooner or Later, that was the other one I liked. But The Doors, The Rascals, like that whole 60s rock, I really started getting into it. And then from there, I still hadn't had a guitar yet. I was just consuming music. And then, of course, the early 90s brought along with it the whole grunge era as well, besides the college rock stuff and stuff like, I remember the video for this one. Disarmed by the Smashing Pumpkins. As a young teen, I was going through troubled times and getting in trouble, and their music really spoke to me. I became a huge fan of the Pumpkins. And that video was kind of my introduction to them. Just after school watching MTV, and I'd see that black and white video, and it just spoke to me that his music and his lyrics have always connected with me. So I really started to consume a lot of Smashing Pumpkins. But like Crash Test Dummies, Gin Blossoms, Nirvana, the In Utero album, Tom Petty, Mary Jane's Last Dance. I discovered Petty from that one. The whole video was weird with Kim Basinger and stuff, but I never really paid attention to Tom Petty until that, and then I started digging back into his back catalog stuff and became a huge fan of his stuff. He's actually had one of the biggest influences on my own writing. But then, after Kurt died, it was just like 94. We had moved to North Carolina. He died a few months later. We moved to North Carolina, and I just kind of like didn't really want to listen to that anymore. I didn't want to listen to the grunge, the alternative stuff. It just wasn't the same. It felt weird after losing one of our, a voice of my generation. Someone that you're really connected with their music, and then they're just gone in such a violent way. So I started listening to different stuff and branching out, and came across Fish, and I heard, I think it was Down with Disease on the radio, and went out and bought the cassette Hoist with the horse on it, and one of my favorite songs on there was Sample in the Jar, and that was that. Just different. It was cool, like the Mixolydian solos he used in that. The whole album was odd and strange and different. I really liked that. It wasn't the same old stuff, and the solos were way beyond what I had been listening to. And during that time, I started listening to got into a lot of guitar-driven music. Led Zeppelin, Doobie Brothers, Bad Company, Deep Purple, Free, Allman Brothers, Skynyrd. I had a friend introduce me to Skynyrd when I moved to North Carolina. Gave me one of their cassettes. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, but I've been Street Fighters, Survivors. I can't remember. They're all standing out on the street, but really got hooked into Skynyrd. So, and from there, the Southern rock, I started dating a girl, and I got into country, and I listened to George Strait, Randy Travis, Alan Jackson, the typical Joe Diffie, Clint Black, Tracy Byrd. Early 90s country, and had the cowboy hat and the pickup truck. And I was just consuming all different stuff over the years, and I just kept shifting and changing. I'd find new music, and I just would consume it like crazy. David Lee Murphy, the Dust on a Bottle. Yeah, I can remember that. Dust on a Bottle, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't last long. We broke up, and I was depressed, and I went back to the grunge, and at that time, Bush had come out. They were like grunge light. They got a lot of crap for trying to supposedly copy a lot of the American bands, but I thought they were their own style, and I enjoyed 16 Stone and Razorblade Suitcase albums, but they had Everything's Zen. Down, Alien. There are a lot of good songs on that album, but I started getting into that. Smashing Pumpkins came out with Melancholy Infinite Sadness, that double album, and I was going through a really dark time and lost my license, had been arrested and depressed, and just I had a really, I have a video somewhere else in my testimony, my story of my life, but I talk about a lot of that, and their music really connected, and Bullet Butterfly Wings is on there. Tonight. There's so many great songs on that album. Live, Collective Soul, Shine, December, all that early Collective Soul stuff. Really dig that. Goo Goo Dolls, 7 Mary 3, Everclear was one of the first things I eventually learned on guitar, but that. Really like that stuff, Soundgarden and all that. Kind of not quite post-grunge. It was the end of the grunge music before post-grunge kind of came out in that mid-90s, and it was just connected with me. Like I said, I was going through a troubled time, and it really spoke to me. Let me turn my page on my notes here. Then I finally was 18. It must have been 96, winter 96, December. I turned 18, got my first guitar, and it was actually, I have one here, a Razor. This one I just recently picked up. I found one. I've never found another one, so I bought it. But I got some videos with that one. But I think I do a Stone Temple Pilot one with that Interstate Love Song. But I had a Razor. My dad got me a cream-colored one, very similar to this one, and I think I got a guitar magazine with it or something. But Smoke on the Water, because I like Deep Purple and I like that guitar rock. I was trying to learn it like everyone does, and at the beginning I was just. I actually might have played it over and over. Probably drove my parents nuts, and couldn't do bar chords or anything yet. I was just trying to figure out how to play, and I would just noodle around on it. Didn't have any lessons or anything. Got a couple more guitar magazines. Would pick up chords, the C, your D, A minor, just learn some of the basic chords. And then that's one of the Skinner cassettes I had. I started learning Simple Man. It was like 3 chords, if any of you have learned it. And that was like the first song I could just kind of strum through that. Of course, back then it was more of. Choppier, but that was kind of like the first song I could actually play through, C, G, A minor. And from there, I just started playing a whole lot, buying guitar magazines, picking up books that had guitar chords. Sometimes it's not the best thing when you buy like a book with 1,000 chords because you don't know what to play. You see all these weird E minor 7 flat 5s and you have no idea what they are, and it's overwhelming. To begin, you really only need a handful of chords, but I would just try and consume everything. And that was the era, like the late 90s. I ended up moving to Colorado from like 97 to 2000. I was out there in 98, 99. In the post-grunge, pop, indie stuff like Wallflowers, Oasis, of course, losing my capo. Every friggin' party you go to when I was in Colorado. Actually, after that, somewhere around there. Out there, I remember hearing it. Some dude would pick up a guitar and be like. Wonderwall, but I love Oasis. I've learned to appreciate a lot of their other stuff, and Noel's playing really had an impact on my lead playing, but stuff like that. Oleander's a huge one I love. Local H, Offspring. That punk rock Americana album come out, and it was phenomenal. I had a 1967. I think it was 67 Corvair, hardtop 2-door in Colorado, and I used to just play that CD over and over. Three Doors Down had come out around early 2000s. Better Than Ezra, good. Which that had come out quite a bit earlier. That was out, I believe, quite a few years earlier, but I was listening to them at the time. Candlebox, like Cover Me. That kind of stuff. Some of it's kind of, it's post-grunge, late grunge, not really grunge, it's indie alternative. And then as life goes on, I got married, had a kid, and he was born in 2001, and I kind of like got rid of my electric stuff, just sold it all and bought an acoustic. I had a cheap Alvarez I picked up because it was easy, you pick it up, play for a bit, the kid cries, you gotta change the diaper, you just put it back down. You didn't have to set everything up and pedals and everything. So I started listening to a lot more acoustic stuff because I had an acoustic, like Lifehouse, Audio Slaves Like a Stone was really cool, Everlast, James Blunt, Jason Mraz, that. I've played this a lot. I'm Yours, that typical 1-5-6-4 progression. And I started playing a lot of that. Paolo Nutini, Damian Rice, a lot of acoustic stuff. Just kind of trying to find new stuff, because I've been listening to all the other stuff for some years. And then I decided to branch out. I got decent enough where I could actually go out playing bands. And I was in a Christian band. We did like Delirious, Day of Fire, Casting Crowns. Then I was in like a Stream Rockers, which was like we played at Winers and stuff. Margaritaville, On the Road Again, Brown Eyed Girl, Jenny. Yeah, so many songs like that typical Mustang Sally, Brown Eyed Girl, I think I mentioned. The typical standards you play out in bars. It was good for cutting my teeth when I was first jamming with other musicians, because up to then, I really hadn't. I just always played along with CDs and stuff, and jammed a couple times with friends, but this was actually working with other musicians, and it was good for my chops to play a lot of those standards. And then I started my own band, Scatter Shield, and we did like some original stuff, kind of a Seether kind of dirty Southern rock stuff as well. We had original stuff. That's where I started to write and work with musicians and building songs. I wrote like Falls Lake, Wrong Highway, I Don't Know Why, Hey Little Girl, all during that time. The guy in the band, Eric, who sang and played guitar, he wrote a couple great ones, like Bog, and This Is Me. I've got them recorded somewhere. And then Scott was our drummer, who also played guitar, which is cool. All three of us could play and we could sit around and jam. He had a couple good ones, a couple of shots he wrote. It was fun. We were creating, writing, and then going out and playing it and getting good feedback. So it was a cool experience. It was tough for me because I wasn't used to working with other people. Personality-wise, with bipolar, it sometimes can get in the way. So it didn't last long. We were together for like a year. But then other bands I was in, the Lithium Highway, which has done really well around here. I was only in it in the beginning, playing some of my original stuff with them, and a lot of covers and modern rock. And then the Profusely's. That was, excuse me here. The allergies are killing me today. That was a jam band with a guy down the road who played drums and another guitarist, and we were doing like Fish and Dead and the Stones, and Traveling Wilburys, but like taking a song and then just stretching it out and jamming on it. And I'd solo, the other guy'd solo, and we'd just play off each other. And that was really, really what brought out my lead abilities. I was learning the different scales because I had to. I hadn't been a huge lead player before. It was always simple stuff, but that really cut my teeth as far as soloing and being able to just freestyle and jam with other musicians. And I'd have friends that, hey, we need a guitarist. Can you sing with us tonight? And I'd just sit in and kind of jam and fill in and follow the other guitarists playing, throw some leads in when they needed it, and really develop my playing doing that. And then after that, I just kind of filled in when someone would need somebody. I'd go play with some bands like Cameron Shackle and Chase and Jackson Country Band. Just like they needed somebody, I'd show up for the night, get paid, and play, and just kind of fill in leads where they needed me. And then in 2012, I started my YouTube channel. It's slowly growing. I haven't looked, but 700 something subscribers, which is awesome. I really appreciate that, guys. I forget how many views, but I've had more people view me on there than would have ever playing out live. So I don't miss playing out live. Sometimes I do, but mostly I enjoy this when I get free time. I put some videos out there, and I appreciate everyone that like comments and likes what I do, and I appreciate all the love I get back on my original music. I've been doing a lot of that in the last 10 years. I've written 52 songs now. They're all in there in their own playlist, but that's what I love. I love creating, playing. Horrible singer, I know that, but maybe someday I'll get one to work with. But that's where I'm at now. And then musically, I've been listening to, like, Miles Davis, Charlie Parker, Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Herbie Hancock, just trying to expand what I can play and what I like and incorporate some of that into my writing, some of the jazz stuff. Different stuff, just something different than what I've used to playing. So trying to branch out and add more into that. But yeah, so YouTube is where my music kind of lives now. And, like I said, I miss playing out, but not as much as I used to. Like now I'm comfortable where I'm at musically. And I just want to keep growing personally and become a better musician. But yeah, so that's kind of my story. That's how I fell in love with music and then how I became a musician. And I'd love to hear your story. Why are you deciding to play? What got you into music or, guitar? Love to hear. Just put in the comment, message me. And if you ever want to collaborate, you're a vocalist maybe and happen to come across this, love to work. And I always do like to do collaborations across platforms. So I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So send me a message. We'll talk. But yeah, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.